Final Fantasy has always been one of the most important RPG franchises in gaming history. For decades, it was the series that set the standard and pushed the genre forward, that showed players what was possible in role-playing games. But in recent years, things have started to shift. Final Fantasy isn't the innovator it once was. Instead, it feels like Square Enix is chasing trends, moving away from its roots in turn-based strategy and into full-blown action combat. Now don't get me wrong, the newer games are flashy, cinematic, and fun in their own way. But when you look at other series like Persona 5, or even the recent Expedition 33, it becomes clear. Turn-based RPGs aren't outdated. In fact, they're thriving. Which raises the question, why did Final Fantasy abandon them? And more importantly, what should the future of Final Fantasy look like? To understand where Final Fantasy went wrong, we have to start with what it did right. The early Final Fantasy games, from the original all the way through Final Fantasy III, were simple by today's standards, but they laid the foundation. Turn-based battles, magic systems, party customization. For the 80s, this was groundbreaking. Then came Final Fantasy IV, and with it, one of the most important innovations in RPG history, the Active Time Battle System, or ATB. Suddenly, battles weren't just about waiting your turn, they were dynamic. Time mattered. You had to make decisions under pressure. This was revolutionary, and it became the backbone of the series for the next decade. Final Fantasy VI perfected this formula. Every character had unique abilities. The ATB system created tension, and battles were seamlessly tied into the story, making combat feel meaningful, not just mechanical. Then came Final Fantasy VII, a global phenomenon. With materia, players had endless ways to customize their parties. Final Fantasy VIII took risks with the junction system, even though it fell flat with some fans. And Final Fantasy IX refined character identity and trance abilities. And then Final Fantasy X gave us the conditional turn-based system, or CTB. You could see the turn order, swap characters mid-battle, and plan several steps ahead. Many fans still consider X the peak of Final Fantasy combat. It was pure strategy, endlessly flexible, and uniquely its own. After 10, the series started to experiment. Final Fantasy XI and 14 were MMORPGs, so of course they shifted to cooldown-based real-time systems. But the single-player titles were still pushing ideas. Final Fantasy XII introduced the Gambit system. You could program your party's AI with conditional commands, basically building your own strategies into the game. Some players loved it, others hated it. But here's the key. It was innovative. It was Square Enix trying something new within RPG combat. Final Fantasy XIII took the ATB system and turned it into a fast, cinematic experience. Instead of micromanaging every character, you focused on paradigm shifts, controlling roles, timing, and synergy. Wasn't perfect, but again, it was unique. It was Final Fantasy doing what Final Fantasy always did best, experimenting and building systems nobody else was doing. Then came Final Fantasy XV, and this is where things changed. Suddenly, combat wasn't turn-based at all. It was an action RPG, warp strikes, flashy combos, dodges. It was fun at times, but shallow. You weren't strategizing, you were mashing. The depth and creativity of old Final Fantasy systems just weren't there. Final Fantasy VII Remake tried something in between. It had real-time action, but you still built up ATB charges to use special abilities. It was closer to what Final Fantasy could be, a hybrid system that rewards both strategy and reflexes. And then, Final Fantasy XVI. This game went full-on action, designed by the battle director of Devil May Cry, and it shows. The combat is stylish, intense, and cinematic, but it also abandons nearly everything that made Final Fantasy battles feel like Final Fantasy. No party synergy, no layered systems, just combos, dodges, and cooldowns. Looks amazing, but could just as easily be another game from another franchise entirely. And that's the problem. Final Fantasy isn't leading anymore. It's following. It's chasing after action combat in a world where Devil May Cry, God of War, and Kingdom Hearts already exist. It feels less like an RPG innovator and more like a copycat. So why does this feel wrong to so many longtime fans? First, Final Fantasy is losing its identity. The series used to stand out for its combat systems. Every new game gave us something different, something experimental. Now, it feels like Square Enix is afraid to take risks. Second, the party dynamic, it's gone. Think back to your favorite Final Fantasy moments. It wasn't just about the protagonist, it was about the team. Strategizing, swapping roles, combining abilities. That's what made battles exciting. Modern Final Fantasy puts you in control of just one character. And while that looks cinematic, it removes so much of the strategy. Third, the timing couldn't be worse. Other developers are showing just how innovative turn-based systems can be. Persona 5 proved that stylish, strategic turn-based combat can capture a mainstream audience. And now, Expedition 33, which is most likely going to be our game of the year this year, is pushing the genre even further, showing us how modern designs can breathe new life into turn-based battles. These games prove that turn-based isn't outdated, it's very much alive, it's fresh, and it's fun. And that's what makes Square Enix's decision so frustrating. Because they had the legacy and the experience to lead this wave, but instead, they abandon it.
Take the lead.
I'll show you what I can do. This one's for you!
So what should the future of Final Fantasy look like? First, Square Enix needs to stop chasing trends and start setting them again. Final Fantasy was never about following the crowd. It was about innovation. They don't need to go back to pure turn-based battles, but they need to find a balance. Hybrid systems, like the one in Final Fantasy VII Remake, are a step in the right direction, perhaps. Imagine a system that allows for real-time movement and dodging, where meaningful strategy, party synergy, and turn order still matter. A game where both reflexes and planning are rewarded. That's where Final Fantasy could shine. Second, bring back party control. Players want to feel like they're commanding a team, not just controlling one flashy protagonist. Synergy, combos, and tactical variety are what made Final Fantasy parties memorable. Third, don't be afraid to experiment. The Gambit system, paradigm shifts. Those ideas weren't perfect and not for everybody, but they were at least original. We need more of that. Final Fantasy should never feel like a clone of another franchise. It should feel like something only Square Enix could make. And finally, learn from what's working in the genre right now. Persona, Expedition 33, indie RPGs. They've proven there's still a huge demand for innovative turn-based combat. Imagine this. Expedition 33 was made by a much smaller independent studio, and was an incredible game. It will be Game of the Year most likely. Now you compare that to Square Enix, which is a juggernaut in the gaming industry. And if they took the scale and production value that they're able to create and applied that to a brand new spin on strategic turn-based system, That would feel like a revolution. That would feel like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is still one of the most recognizable names in gaming. But the question is, will it continue chasing the action RPG trend, or will it rediscover what made it legendary in the first place? The future of the series depends on whether Square Enix decides to lead again, or keep following in someone else's footsteps. And before we wrap things up, I just wanted to add one more thing. I've been a fan of the Final Fantasy series since back in the 90s. I have not been excited for a Final Fantasy game in a very long time. As of now, if I could have my pick between Persona 6, a Expedition 33 follow-up, I would pick one of those. I used to look forward to the next Final Fantasy release, always looking up any information that I could find, gushing over the next trailer that they just released. But now, I have no faith in the series. But I want to know what you think. Do you love the new action-heavy combat system? Or do you miss the turn-based systems of the past? And what would you want to see in Final Fantasy XVII and beyond? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe for more deep dives into games that we love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.